Welcome to Sci-Fi Bedtime Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Welcome to Sci-Fi Bedtime Stories, where extraordinary tales come to life. Enjoy the journey. Rage fueled the throw. The empty beer bottle exploded against the grimy wall, showering Stephen Reiner's cramped apartment with jagged shards. His unshaven face, etched with a bitter scowl, caught the eerie blue glow of the flickering holographic screen. On screen, a chilling voice declared, "Reports continue of escalating insurgent activity near the Epsilon Quadrant. The Galactic Council urges citizens to remain vigilant." Stephen snorted, a dry, bitter sound, then reached for another bottle from his stained cooling unit. 28 years. This was his life, a metallic shoebox in Omega-7's forgotten fringes, drowning in cheap liquor and news-disguised propaganda. "Computer," he rasped, voice rough from disuse. "Channel swap. Something with actual entertainment." The lurid display shifted to Alien Love, a reality drama showcasing outrageously proportioned beings entangled in manufactured romantic crises. So transparently fake, it made his jaw ache, yet better than the relentless torment of his pitiful reality. A sharp, insistent thud rattled his flimsy door panel. Stephen's hand froze. Nobody visited him. His invisibility was the point. The knock came again, heavier, metal groaning under impact. Deep within his mind, a forgotten warning system ignited, a primal alarm he hadn't known. His muscles tensed, heartbeat slowing. The bottle suddenly felt like a crude weapon. "Reiner, open up!" a gravelly voice bellowed, heavy with menace. "We know you're in there." Stephen moved with unexpected grace, pressing against the wall beside the door, instinctively avoiding direct fire. Who is it?" he slurred, attempting a drunk, confused tone. "Your creditors, human. 50,000 credits past due. Mr. K doesn't appreciate tardiness." Stephen's brow furrowed in genuine confusion. Creditors? He'd never borrowed money. His meager waste processor jobs wouldn't qualify. "You've got the wrong guy," he yelled. The response was immediate. A searing energy blast ripped through the door lock, leaving a glowing, molten hole. 3 hulking figures shoved through, massive forms enhanced by grafted exoskeletons, bioluminescent facial tattoos marking them Krell mercenaries. "Wrong answer," growled the leader, raising a neural disruptor. Stephen's consciousness fractured, one part paralyzed by terror, another, a deeper self, seizing control. With astonishing ease, he hurled the bottle. It struck the leader's throat, shattering an implant node. The Krell warrior howled, electric current sparking across his neck enhancements. Without hesitation, Stephen dropped low, exploding upward with a perfect uppercut to the second Krell's jaw. A sickening crunch of alien cartilage resonated through his fist. "What the hell am I doing?" the thought screamed, even as his body moved with chilling precision actions he'd never trained for. The third, Krell lunged with a vibroblade. Stephen sidestepped, seized the mercenary's wrist, and slammed him into the wall, denting the metal. "Who sent you?" Stephen demanded, surprised by his raw authority. The wounded Krell spat glowing blue blood. "You know damn well, human. The debt collector always comes, even for a ghost like you." Stephen twisted the Krell's arm harder. "I don't have any debts." "Not what your file says, Commander." The word Commander triggered a blinding flash. A crisp uniform, gleaming metals, a ship's bridge. It flickered, vanished, leaving only a lingering ache. That fleeting distraction cost him. The first Krell, groaning, recovered enough to fire his disruptor. Stephen ducked, but not fast enough. The searing energy field clipped his shoulder, sending numb paralysis down his arm. "Time to go," he muttered grimly, kicking the stunned second Krell into the disruptor blast's path, then exploded through the doorway. Stephen sprinted through Omega-7's grimy corridors, his legs moving with an effortless efficiency he'd never known. Alarms blared, signaling weapons discharge. He veered into maintenance hallways, instinctively bypassing camera nodes. How did he know where they were? The question burned, his body navigating the station like a memorized map. Behind him, the Krell's heavy thuds echoed, gaining ground. He plunged into a narrow service tunnel, barely wide, spiraling into Omega-7's forgotten bowel's ancient sections, rarely touched. After 10 grueling minutes navigating the labyrinthine underbelly, Steven emerged into a vast, silent sector. Warning glyphs plastered sealed bulkheads, remnants of an area abandoned decades ago during the station's last major refit. A faded sign, in multiple languages, declared, "Restricted Area, Artifact Containment." The massive, heavy door should have been impenetrable. Yet as Steven approached, it hissed open silently, as if anticipating his arrival, inviting him into the chilling unknown. The circular chamber pulsed with an ethereal blue luminescence. At its core, held by a shimmering containment field, hovered a pristine cube, roughly 20 centimeters per side. Its flawless surface rippled with intricate, etched symbols that appeared to writhe and shift just beyond the direct gaze. "What the hell?" Steven's hushed whisper barely disturbed the silence as he instinctively drew closer to the enigmatic artifact, every nerve on edge. Behind him, the heavy bulkhead door hissed with chilling finality, then sealed with an ominous, resounding clank, trapping him inside. As Steven neared, the cube began to pulse rhythmically, its soft light steadily intensifying, pulling him further into its mystique. The etched symbols on its surface ceased their subtle dance, now swirling with frantic energy, like a swarm of agitated, living things. Suddenly, a cold, automated voice blared through the chamber, shattering the silence. "Unauthorized presence detected." The chilling announcement continued. "Containment breach imminent. Security protocols activated." From concealed panels, defensive turrets swiftly emerged, their targeting lasers painting menacing red dots across Steven's chest in a stark warning. He instinctively dove, a desperate scramble behind a sturdy control console, just as the first volley of concussive stun rounds slammed into the space he'd occupied a split second before. The cube's frantic pulsing intensified, each throb a blinding flash of light, casting stark shadows across the chamber. The containment field surrounding it began to flicker erratically, clearly destabilizing, its integrity failing. The automated voice shrieked with renewed urgency. "Artifact destabilization, critical. Emergency personnel evacuate immediately." To Steven's horror, the security turrets abruptly swiveled, their targeting lasers now locking onto the volatile cube itself, poised to destroy it. "No!" Steven's cry ripped through the air, a raw, instinctive protest, even as he struggled to comprehend the sudden, overwhelming impulse to protect it. Ignoring the hail of suppression fire, he launched himself from cover in a desperate, reckless lunge toward the glowing enigma. His outstretched fingertips grazed its shimmering surface. At the precise instant, the failing containment field spectacularly imploded. The instant his skin touched its surface, a searing jolt of raw energy coursed through Steven's entire being, arcing like lightning. The cube's solid form seemed to instantly liquefy, transforming into a flowing, molten light that surged up his arm like quicksilver, relentlessly burrowing beneath his skin. An unimaginable, agonizing pain erupted in his chest as the ancient artifact began its terrifying fusion, inexorably sinking deeper through muscle, bone, and very essence. Steven crumpled to the floor, his body racked by violent, uncontrollable convulsions. Through a haze of blinding pain and involuntary tears, he watched the cube completely vanish, leaving behind only an ethereal, glowing imprint etched onto his chest, pulsing in perfect, synchronized rhythm with his own frantic heartbeat. Then, a voice ancient, vast, and resonating with unfathomable power echoed directly within his very skull, a solemn pronouncement. Finally, you are the last. The self-deception ends now. The world dissolved into absolute, consuming darkness. Stephen awoke slowly, his senses registering the luxurious softness of unfamiliar sheets and the delicate, intoxicating perfume of exotic flowers. For a bewildering moment, he was convinced he was trapped in a vivid dream. His drab apartment had never known anything but the scent of stale beer and recycled air. His eyes fluttered open to reveal a vast, opulent chamber, adorned with materials utterly alien to him, metals that appeared to flow like molten streams, fabrics that shimmered with impossible, kaleidoscopic colors. Through a colossal viewport, the dizzying expanse of deep space unfolded before him, dotted with countless gleaming hulls of spacecraft, hundreds, perhaps thousands, stretching into the void. "What the?" he muttered, pushing himself upright, a familiar dull ache radiating from his chest, demanding his attention. He looked down, his gaze drawn to an intricate, luminous pattern pulsing just beneath his skin, directly over his heart, the very symbols from the cube, now indelibly etched into his flesh, glowing softly. "The integration is complete, Sovereign," a voice, smooth and melodic like flowing water, gently announced, cutting through his confusion. Stephen's head snapped toward the source of the sound, his heart pounding. Framed in the doorway stood a woman of striking beauty, tall, exquisitely lithe, her skin a mesmerizing deep blue, shimmering with an ethereal, subtle iridescence. Her delicate features held an unsettling, haunting familiarity, yet he was absolutely certain he had never encountered her in his life. Her sleek uniform displayed insignia he couldn't recognize, yet an inexplicable instinct told him they denoted supreme military command. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice raspy with bewilderment and a rising sense of dread. "Where in the hell am I?" She glided toward him with an unnerving, almost liquid grace, then knelt gracefully beside his bed, her presence radiating calm authority. "I am Admiral Anita KX of the 7th Galactic Fleet," she stated, her voice resonating with quiet power. "You are currently aboard our flagship, the Eternal Dominion." Her luminous sapphire eyes fixed upon him, studying his reaction with an unsettling, profound intensity that seemed to pierce his very soul. "The Cube of Awakening has finally found you," she continued, her voice holding an ancient reverence, just as the prophecies have always foretold. Stephen let out a short, harsh laugh, utterly devoid of humor, the sound brittle and desperate. "Lady, I think you've got the wrong guy," he scoffed, shaking his head. "I'm a maintenance tech, on a garbage station. That's it." Anita's serene expression remained utterly unyielding, her conviction unwavering. "That was merely your protective cover, my sovereign," she calmly explained. "A necessary deception maintained while the cube diligently sought out your true essence." She rose gracefully and extended a hand toward the magnificent viewport, encompassing the star-speckled expanse. "These very ships have patiently awaited your return for 7 long centuries," she declared, her gaze sweeping over the armada. "The last of the ancient lords has finally awakened." "Ancient lords? 7 centuries?" Stephen shook his head vehemently, a desperate attempt to dispel the madness. "This is utterly insane. I'm Stephen Reiner, just nobody special." That identity was painstakingly constructed purely to protect you, a vital safeguard after the brutal cleansing wars. Anita's voice softened, imbued with profound sadness. "Your true essence, Sovereign, is immeasurably older, infinitely greater than you now comprehend. The memory loss you experienced was entirely intentional. Your mind could not safely contain your true self while you remained in hiding." The sheer, overwhelming absurdity of her claims should have sent Stephen into another fit of disbelieving laughter, yet a strange, powerful sensation, held him captive. Flickering glimpses of dreams that had haunted him his entire life. Visions of commanding, sprawling fleets, of wielding incomprehensible powers, of vast other worlds and countless forgotten lives. "This is absolutely ridiculous," he muttered, swinging his legs over the edge of the luxurious bed with a surge of desperate resolve. "I'm leaving." "To where?" Anita inquired, her voice disturbingly calm, her gaze unwavering. "The mercenaries who relentlessly pursued you were merely the vanguard, Sovereign. Others, far more dangerous, will surely follow. Now that the cube has fully activated, your unique energy signature is utterly unmistakable to those who possess the means to seek it." Stephen pushed himself to his feet, his fragile patience rapidly evaporating under the weight of her impossible revelations. "Look, I don't know what elaborate game you're playing, but..." Before he could finish, a profound surge of pure, raw anger ignited something deep within him. An unimaginable energy pulsed through his very veins, coalescing intensely within his fingertips. With an involuntary gasp, a brilliant bolt of golden light erupted from his outstretched hand, blasting a smoldering, gaping hole through the richly ornate wall. Stephen stared, utterly aghast, first at his trembling hand, then at the smoking, gaping destruction he had inexplicably wrought. Admiral Anita remained completely unperturbed, not a single muscle flinching. "Your powers return already, Sovereign," she observed calmly, a hint of admiration in her tone. "Impressive. Most lords required months of arduous reconditioning after their awakening." A trembly. Aides rushed to the doorway, their shock evident in their widened eyes. "Bring the Sovereign appropriate garments," Anita commanded, then addressed a wider audience. "The awakening intensifies more quickly than we had thought." One of the aides bowed low before hurrying away. "This can't truly be happening," Stephen murmured, glancing at the raw, golden energy still crackling between his fingers. "Your lost memories will come back to you gradually," Anita reassured. "The mental safeguards diminish now that the cube joins with your very being." As if her words acted as a trigger, images exploded in Stephen's mind. Faces of entities he had never known, vistas of alien worlds he had never seen, understanding of technologies that defied human comprehension. Each image resonated within him, feeling both incredibly foreign and intimately familiar, as though dredged from the depths of long-forgotten childhood memories. "I saw you," he blurted out. "In my dreams. Different, though. Younger. Your hair was silver then, styled in a warrior's braid," Anita finished for him. "That was 6 centuries past, during the siege of Vega Prime. I was your lieutenant then." The doorway hissed open, and several aides entered, carrying extravagant clothing that seemed crafted from living metal. "The Council awaits your presence, Sovereign," Anita announced. "The galaxy has suffered greatly during your absence. Many will celebrate your return." Her eyes became shadowed with a darker premonition. "Many others will not." Stephen stared into his reflection in a polished wall panel, stubbled, perplexed, ordinary. Nothing of a being of immense power, nothing resembling an ancient lord. Yet as he watched, his pupils flickered briefly with golden light, identical to the energy crackling from his hand. "What if I don't desire any of this?" he asked, barely above a whisper. Anita's expression softened with a glimmer of what might have been compassion. "That, Sovereign, is the singular choice now unavailable to you." Through the viewport, a colossal warship appeared, dwarfing all others in size. On its hull, symbols identical to those on the cube blazed with pulsating light. The awakening had truly begun. Stephen gazed at the elaborate battle armor laid out before him, its metallic surfaces shifting with impossible, otherworldly colors. The bodysuit beneath felt weightless, yet the attendants swore it could withstand direct energy weapon blasts. Is this honestly necessary? He asked, running his fingers over the intricate engravings. Anita stood rigidly by the doorway. The sovereign must appear indomitable, especially now, with dissension brewing in the outer reaches. 3 days had passed since the awakening, as they termed it. 3 days of strangers bowing, of hushed conversations that ceased upon his entrance, of jarring memories assaulting his consciousness. Fine, Stephen said, discarding the silk robe they'd given him, and started putting on the armor. He noticed Anita watching him, her gaze lingering on his bare torso where the cube symbols throbbed beneath his skin. You've seen it before, he stated, more than questioned. Many times, yes. Her voice held a certain neutrality, but there was something in her eyes. Though the pattern shifts, it's evolving even now. Stephen secured the last clasp. The armor molded itself to his form, as if it possessed its own life. Tell me about the ancient lords, he demanded. Anita stiffened. You will receive a full historical briefing from the council archivist. No, Stephen said, stepping closer, surprised at how naturally authority came to him now. I want to hear the truth from you, not some carefully sanitized version. For a moment, he believed she would refuse, then her shoulders relaxed slightly. They were both creators and destroyers, she began, 8 beings of unimaginable power who shaped the galaxy according to their will. She gestured toward the viewport, where thousands of starships floated in impeccable formation. The species you see serving you now were genetically engineered for specific purposes, the Krell for war, the Aluan for scientific advancement, my own people for administration and naval command. Created, Stephen repeated, a knot forming in his stomach. Like lab animals? Tools to be used? Anita's voice became colder. The lords required servants to govern their vast empire while they dedicated themselves to matters they considered of greater importance, manipulating cosmic energies, transcending physical limitations, competing against each other for ultimate dominance. Stephen's stomach churned. And I was one of them? The very last? The others were destroyed in the Cleansing War 7 centuries ago. She hesitated. You vanished. Many assumed you were dead. Some said you'd concealed yourself, biding your time for the moment to strike. Before Stephen could respond, the doorway slid open. A delegation of officials entered, their elaborate garb identifying them as representatives from various worlds. They knelt in unison. The council awaits you, Sovereign, declared an elderly being with translucent skin. The fleet commanders await your blessing before the reclamation begins. Reclamation? Stephen looked at Anita. Later, she mouthed. Then more loudly, the Sovereign will join you momentarily. After the delegation had left, Stephen gripped Anita's arm. What reclamation are they speaking of? Several systems have declared their independence since your disappearance, she answered. The fleet has mobilized to return them to the fold. To be back, returned by force. The very thought sickened Stephen. It's your empire, Sovereign, Anita replied, deceptively cool. How else would you suggest we proceed? The great hall of the eternal dominion, vast enough for a small city, pulsed with thousands of beings from countless species, rigidly segregated. As Stephen entered from an elevated platform, a profound hush fell, followed by a synchronized genuflection that rippled through the assembly. All hail the Sovereign Lord returned from the void, boomed an amplified voice. The response was deafening. Hail! 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 Stephen fought for a neutral expression, taking his place on a floating dais at the hall's center. Below him, 12 council members of diverse species occupied smaller circular platforms. The Sovereign honors us with his presence, intoned the translucent elder. We preserved your empire as best we could during your absence, Lord Stephen. Stephen? He couldn't hide his surprise at his human name. "Your chosen appellation in this cycle," explained a four-armed, chitinous council member. "We maintain the archives of all your names throughout the eons. Would you prefer another?" "No, that's fine." Stephen scanned the vast, adoring crowd, deeply unsettled by their worship. "I understand there are plans for reclaiming territories." The council exchanged uneasy glances. "Merely restoring the natural order," a female counselor stated, unyielding. "The upstart systems must be reminded of their place." "Commander Kane's rebellion spreads like a disease." Holographic displays materialized, showing star systems and battle plans. "This proposed reclamation would cost millions of lives. And these rebels," Stephen cut in, his voice sharp, "what exactly are they fighting against?" An uncomfortable silence stretched. "Against your divine right to rule," Anita finally answered from beside the dais. "They fear the return of the old ways." "The old ways?" Stephen repeated, a chill in his tone. "You mean tyranny?" The word, "wa," hung in the air like a physical blow. Several council members recoiled. "Sovereignty," corrected the eldest counselor, his voice strained. "The natural order established by the ancient lords." Stephen stood, and the hall seemed to hold its breath. "I want to learn more before any military action is taken. These are still my subjects, are they not, even in rebellion?" Disappointment was palpable, yet none dared contradict him. The meeting continued with administrative matters Stephen barely comprehended. His attention drifted to surging memories, fragments of a millennia-spanning life, power beyond imagination, acts of casual cruelty that made him shudder. "What kind of monster was I?" he wondered, the council's words fading. "What kind of monster am I becoming?" In the restless days that followed, Stephen plunged into training, astonished by how naturally combat flowed. His body recalled forms and lethal techniques he'd never learned as a human. Each day, his strength, speed, and control over the coursing energy surged. The enigmatic cube symbols spread across his chest, occasionally sparking searing pain as new, disturbing memories surfaced. He saw worlds burning, species coldly engineered and discarded, and always, the insatiable hunger for more power. One sleepless night, Stephen wandered to the observation deck. Anita was there, staring at the stars. "You should rest, Sovereign," she said, not turning. "Stop calling me that when we're alone," Stephen pleaded, moving beside her. "I'm still figuring out who I am." Anita turned, her starlit face illuminated. "I knew you before," she said, "not just as your admiral." Her intense gaze warmed his skin. "Tell me." She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "You used me as you used everyone. But I—" She touched his chest, where symbols glowed beneath his shirt. "I believed there was something more beneath the cruelty." Her proximity awakened something primal. Without thinking, he pulled her against him, his lips finding hers. She responded with fierce passion, her body melting into his. When they separated, her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I hated the Lords my entire life," she whispered, "prepared for vengeance, and yet, I'm still your willing servant." "I'm not that person anymore," Stephen whispered. Anita's smile held no warmth. "Aren't you? Your body remembers. Your power grows daily. Soon the full memories will return." She pressed against him again. "I've been yours before. I will be again, though I don't know what I truly feel." Stephen didn't remember their past, but his body responded with familiar hunger. That night, in his chambers, their bodies tangled in ancient patterns, reaching climax. The symbols on his chest flared with golden light, and a flood of memories crashed through him. Anita, centuries younger, crying out beneath him as planets burned in the viewport behind them. He recoiled, pushing her away, horrified by the brutal vision. "You remembered," she stated, no question. "I was a monster," Stephen choked out. He murmured, "Anita, carefully enfold her nakedness in the sheets. They said you were a god. There's a difference, isn't there? Not to those who suffered under your reign." The Eridan diplomatic mission was Anita's notion, a chance to showcase the Sovereign's benevolent return to the outer systems. This planet held significant strategic value, abundant in resources, and a pivotal hyperspace nexus. Stephen, defying security concerns, arrived with a meager escort. Its terrain was predominantly desert, punctuated by sprawling settlements clustered around age-old mining sites. A corpulent governor, adorned with multiple ioks, greeted him with an ostentatious display of ceremony. "We are humbled by your divine presence, Sovereign," the governor gushed, practically prostrating. "Eridan 4 has always remained loyal, hasn't it?" Stephen inquired, sensing the palpable tension in the assembled throng. Many bore the marks of privation: emaciated frames, tattered garments, frightened gazes. "Absolutely," the governor affirmed too readily. "We have prepared a celebration to honor you, featuring our most sacred rituals." The sacred ritual unfolded as a public spectacle within the central plaza. Thousands encircled a circular stone platform, where guards forcefully dragged a struggling figure. Stephen's breath hitched as he recognized her, a woman whose vibrant purple skin shimmered like polished amethyst. Her form was exquisitely proportioned, rendering the flimsy shift they had clad her in all the more debasing. Yet it was her eyes that ensnared him most, vivid emerald green, blazing with defiance despite her predicament. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. The governor puffed himself up, feigning importance. "Justice, Sovereign. This Argant dared to speak out against your rule. They are a cursed race, ungrateful for the purpose your divinity bestowed upon them." The woman was forced to kneel. The crowd began a rhythmic chant, reaching for stones piled nearby. "The purification ritual," Anita murmured, her voice hushed. "The Argant were created to extract delicate crystal formations inaccessible to machinery. Centuries ago, when they rebelled, you ordered examples to be made." "I ordered this?" Nausea churned within him. The first stone hurtled through the air, striking the woman's shoulder. She emitted no sound. More followed, drawing forth purple blood that glistened cruelly under the harsh sun. Something within Stephen shattered. Before conscious thought could intervene, he surged across the plaza with inhuman speed. As an especially large stone arced toward the woman, he interposed himself, shielding her. The stone slammed against his chest, shattering against his armor. Simultaneously, his hand shot out, seizing the thrower by the throat. With lethal precision, his fingers separated the being's head from its body in one swift, gruesome motion. The crowd froze, paralyzed by terror. Stephen loomed over the purple-skinned woman, his eyes burning with golden fire. Blood dripped from his hand, yet he felt only an icy clarity. His body had reacted on ancient muscle memory, executing a kill with brutal expertise. "Anyone else?" he asked, his voice chillingly calm. The plaza emptied within seconds, leaving only his guards, Anita, and the dumbfounded governor. "Sovereign, I fail to comprehend," the governor stammered. "The ritual is in your honor." "No more," Stephen commanded, his voice ringing with authority. "No more rituals, no more stones, no more punishing the Argon." He turned to the woman, who gazed up at him with those astonishing green eyes. Blood trickled from a cut on her cheek, yet she displayed no fear. "Why?" she whispered, her voice melodious despite her suffering. Stephen assisted her to her feet, surprised by her weightlessness. "Because life is sacred," he proclaimed, the words emanating from the depths of his being. "Even the life of created beings. Her eyes widened in astonishment. Nearby, Anita gasped audibly. "Those are the words of the renegade," Anita stated, her voice strained with tension. "The only lord who stood defiant against his brothers during the final days." The Argent woman's gaze intensified. "You truly don't remember, do you?" she asked softly. "Remember what?" "I am Marcia Rivard," she announced, drawing herself up despite her injuries, leader of the Argent Liberation Force. "And you," she paused, "you were prophesied to return. The reborn lord who takes the blow meant for slaves will rewrite the destiny of stars." Stephen felt the cube symbols sear beneath his armor. "I have no faith in prophecies." Marcia's smile revealed perfect white teeth against her purple skin. "Yet here you stand, fulfilling one." Later, aboard his ship, with Marcia granted quarters and medical care despite Anita's protests, Stephen sensed the universe pivoting around him. The brief violence in the plaza had stirred something within him, not merely the monster of his past, but perhaps something more, something that had rebelled against his own kind. "The renegade," he murmured to his reflection as the ship departed from Eridan IV's orbit. "Is that who I truly was?" His eyes flashed gold in response, and somewhere deep within his consciousness, a voice that might have been his own answered, "You are becoming what you were always meant to be." The Eternal Dominion plunged into hyperspace, its colossal engines warping reality around the vessel. Stephen stood alone in his private observatory, contemplating the stars. Beyond the reinforced viewport, star streaks swirled in a dizzying blur. The cube sigils upon his chest pulsed with an ever-increasing rhythm, each throb unleashing torrents of ancient recollections, flooding his consciousness. A gentle chime signaled an arrival. He knew, without turning, who it was. Her presence preceded her, a unique essence of crystalline minerals and an indefinable personal aroma. "Enter, Mara," he invited. The Argent woman glided in, her movements exhibiting a captivating fluidity and grace. While the medical treatments had mended her outward injuries, a deep weariness still lingered in her emerald eyes. She wore a simple yet elegant violet bodysuit, which enhanced her striking appearance, having declined more ornate attire offered by the ship's attendant. "You summoned me, Sovereign?" Her title, spoken with a subtle undertone of defiance, registered. "Stephen," he corrected, turning to meet her gaze. "Just Stephen when we're alone." Mara approached, pausing a respectful distance away. "The crew speaks of a transformation in you, of a changed demeanor," she remarked, her head tilting slightly. "Have I?" Stephen confessed, his voice low. "I no longer recall who I was." Brief flashes surface visions of dreadful acts, of power wielded without a flicker of conscience. "You were a monster," Mara stated with unvarnished candor. "All the lords were. You crafted entire species to satisfy your capricious desires, including my own people." Stephen winced at her words. "And yet you spoke of a prophecy concerning me." Mara's expression softened perceptibly. "It wasn't about the lord you once were, but about the man you have the potential to become." She moved closer, the ambient starlight illuminating the subtle iridescence of her skin. "You were always distinct from the others. That's what the most ancient tales proclaim. In the final days, as the lords turned upon one another, you stood defiant, shielding the races you had created. They named you the Renegade." "And now?" he inquired, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "What defines me presently?" Her emerald eyes scrutinized him with intense focus. "That surely remains to be discovered." An invisible current, a connection transcending their vastly different origins, sparked between them. Stephen found himself inexplicably drawn to her, a pull that extended beyond her obvious beauty to something more profound. "Show me," he declared suddenly. Show me what? The resistance. Your people. What it is you strive for. Mara's eyes widened in astonishment. You wish to witness the rebellion from within its very heart. I must comprehend the true nature of what I face, the breadth of choices available to me. A slow smile bloomed on her face, transforming her features from mere comeliness to an ethereal radiance. That would be utterly unprecedented. I'm sensing that unprecedented is becoming my particular expertise. This is absolute folly, Anita exclaimed later that evening, pacing Stephen's private quarters with unbridled fury. Venturing into the heart of the rebellion's stronghold? They will eliminate you the very instant you arrive. They are welcome to attempt it, Stephen responded with a tranquil demeanor, observing the rhythmic pulsing of the sigils beneath his skin as he changed into more subdued attire. Is this decision influenced by her? Anita's voice escalated, sharp with accusation. That arrogant woman has been in your presence for less than a week, and already she is actively undermining your allegiance to everything you stand for. Undermining what, precisely? Stephen interrupted, his tone measured. A legacy steeped in tyranny, a system designed for beings to exist solely for servitude and suffering. Anita moved closer, her blue skin deepening in hue, flushed with a surge of emotion. Against your destiny, your birthright. Her hand reached out, touching his chest directly over the glowing cube sigils. The Council has convened and rendered their verdict. They stand prepared to bestow upon you complete command of the Galactic Fleet, enabling you to obliterate Kane's rebellion definitively. With a single decree, you possess the power to cease this conflict and reassert your dominion over the galaxy. Through the imposition of fear? Stephen countered softly. Through strength, she insisted, her voice firm. That is your inherent nature. Stephen gently grasped her hand, pressing it against his heart. Is it? Because these memories I am gradually recovering paint a vastly different picture. They depict me in opposition to the other lords, actively protecting the races they had brought into being. Anita's resolve wavered, her expression betraying a hint of doubt. That was merely a fleeting anomaly, a momentary lapse before the ultimate confrontation. Or perhaps, he mused, releasing her hand, it was the singular moment of true clarity I ever possessed. I must ascertain this for myself. I will accompany Mara to the Resistance encampment. Then I am accompanying you, Anita declared with unwavering resolve. Stephen raised a questioning eyebrow. The Admiral of the 7th Fleet? They would execute you upon sight. I have undertaken infiltrations of rebel enclaves on previous occasions, she stated with a grim and determined air, and I will not permit you to go unattended, especially not with her. The palpable jealousy in her voice was undeniable. Stephen opted to ignore it, choosing instead to address the practicalities. Very well. However, you will defer entirely to my directives. No weaponry, and absolutely no communication channels back to the fleet. Anita's features hardened into a mask of obedience. As the Sovereign commands. The rebel stronghold presented itself as nothing Stephen had anticipated. Rather than a clandestine military installation, Mara guided them to an immense, hollowed-out asteroid nestled within a distant, uncharted system. Within its cavernous interior, a vibrant community flourished, comprising not only Argonts, but also members of countless other species, coexisting in apparent harmony. Welcome to Haven, Mara announced as their modest transport docked, the very first bastion of freedom in the galaxy. Stephen felt the weight of numerous gazes as they navigated the densely populated corridors, a mixture of curiosity and outright hostility evident in their stares. Anita remained a constant presence at his back, her hand hovering near the location where her sidearm would normally reside. They recognize your signature, Mara explained, your energetic resonance. Nature's essence is unmistakable, even when veiled, Their restraint stems from my guarantee and a profound curiosity about the Lord, who rescued an outcast from certain doom. She guided them into a vast hall where a mixed assembly gathered around a central circular table, presided over by a towering figure, Commander Kane, leader of the rebellion, his jaw and left arm bearing visible cybernetic enhancements. "So," Kane's voice boomed, "the Sovereign himself deigns to grace us with his presence." Stephen met his gaze, unwavering. "I am here to listen, to comprehend the cause for which you strive." "Freedom," Kane declared, his voice resonating. "The inherent right of every sentient being to chart its own course, rather than be mere instruments for eternal rulers." "Audacious words to speak directly to one of those very rulers," Anita interjected, her tone sharp. Kane's cybernetic eye fixed on her. "Admiral Kellex, your appearance here is even more astonishing." His gaze then returned to Stephen. "You have brought the architect of countless atrocities into our haven. Your faith in our sanctuary is either sheer arrogance or profound folly." "I place my faith in Mara," Stephen responded, "and she places hers in you, despite your evident animosity." Kane's organic eye narrowed. "Mara holds faith in prophecy. I believe in tangible results." He indicated a holographic projection that sprang to life at the table's center. "Behold the worlds your fleet has reacquired this past century. Observe the population figures before and after. The outcomes were horrific. Billions dwindled to mere millions through deliberate exterminations." "That was not I," Stephen began. "It was done in your name," Kane interrupted. "By your admirals, your council, your empire." "Enough," Marcia intervened, her voice firm. "He is here to understand, not to be condemned for deeds he cannot recall." Kane's expression softened subtly as he looked at her. "Very well. Reveal to him our discoveries within the ancient archives. Let him be his own judge." The rebel archives resided deep within the asteroid's core, shielded by defenses that would impress even the Empire's finest minds. Mara led Stephen and Anita past multiple layers of security to a sealed vault. "What we are about to disclose was retrieved from one of the original Lord Sanctuaries," she explained, placing her hand on a scanner. "It took us decades to decipher the information. The revelations fundamentally altered our understanding of the Lords, and of you." The vault opened, revealing a solitary pedestal holding a crystalline data matrix, identical in form to the cube embedded within Stephen's chest. "Another cube of awakening?" Anita exclaimed, astonished. "No," Marcia corrected. "A cube of truth, crafted by the one you know as the Renegade." She activated the device, and the chamber filled with holographic projections, celestial charts, intricate schematics, and fragmented recordings depicting beings clad in ornate armor akin to Stephen's, the ancient lords. "The cubes were not designed to preserve your consciousness or power," Marcia elaborated. "They were sophisticated control mechanisms intended to prevent the lords from ever exceeding their creator's authority." "Creators?" Stephen felt the symbols on his chest thrum. The lords had creators? Higher beings? "From another dimension," Mara affirmed. "They engineered the lords to govern this galaxy, just as the lords subsequently created species to serve their own needs." The hologram transitioned, displaying a familiar visage, Stephen's own face, but with eyes that held the accumulated wisdom of ages. "You uncovered the truth," Marcia continued, "that you were as much a captive as those you commanded. You fashioned this cube to safeguard the evidence and your own uncorrupted essence. But before you could deploy it, the other lords struck. The cleansing wars commenced." Stephen watched in stunned silence as the recording depicted planetary devastation of an unimaginable scale, the lords unleashing their might upon one another, while surrounding civilizations crumbled into ash. "This is blasphemy," Anita whispered, her face drained of color. The lords were divine entities, not mere constructed instruments. The distinction between deity and servant is far finer than we readily acknowledge, Marcia responded gently. Stephen moved closer to the projection of his past self. What befell me? Him? You waged war against them, striving to safeguard the created races. When it became clear you would not prevail, you fractured your consciousness and power, concealing them within human forms until the opportune moment for your resurgence. And the cube within my chest, what is its true nature? Marcia paused, glancing at Anita, before replying. It is a mechanism of control. Whoever possesses the master key can subjugate you, channeling your formidable power for their own objectives. And who holds this key? Stephen demanded. The Council, Anita admitted, her voice barely audible. They have kept it in stasis, anticipating your return. Their intention is to utilize it once your power reaches its full zenith. Stephen felt a chilling fury begin to build within him. You were aware of this? I harbored suspicions, she confessed, unable to meet his gaze. However, my allegiance was to the Empire, to you, to a version of myself that never truly existed. He stated bitterly. Marcia approached him, her emerald eyes burning with intensity. There is more to this. The prophecy foretells not merely your return. It speaks of your crucial decision, to reclaim your divine status and perpetuate the cycle of dominance, or to shatter it eternally by... Stephen realized that obliterating the cube would mean his own demise. It would render you mortal, she corrected, human, yet liberated. That night, rest eluding him within the rebel sanctuary, Stephen found himself drawn to a viewing port overlooking the asteroid expanse encircling Haven. The stars felt nearer here, unmarred by the Empire's atmospheric haze and artificial illumination. He sensed her presence before her footsteps reached him. Marcia materialized, a silhouette against the starlit void. Contemplating your divinity? She inquired, a playful lilt to her voice. Contemplating humanity, he responded. My humanity. She moved to his side, close enough for him to feel the gentle warmth emanating from her violet skin. And what have you determined? That I cannot aspire to divinity if it necessitates the subjugation of others, he stated, turning to face her. Yet I hesitate to relinquish this power, fearing it will plunge the galaxy into chaos. Marcia's hand rested on his chest, where the cube's glyphs pulsed beneath his shirt. Unlike Anita's touch, this brought no discomfort, only a profound, resonant warmth that suffused his being. Your strength was never confined to the cube, she murmured. It merely amplifies the essence already within you. Their gazes met, and an undeniable current surged between them, a connection bridging eons and genetic manipulation, defying the very hierarchy that had forged them. Without conscious volition, Stephen drew her close. Their lips met in a kiss that transcended the physical, her crystalline essence harmonizing with the energy coursing through his veins. As their embrace deepened, the cosmos seemed to unfurl around them, revealing possibilities previously unimagined. When they parted, breathless, the symbols on Stephen's chest burned brighter than ever, the accompanying pain utterly extinguished. What is unfolding within me? He breathed. Marcia's eyes shimmered with profound emotion. You are reclaiming your true identity. No longer lord, nor human, but something new, something more. That night, within the privacy of Stephen's chambers, they united in a way that defied natural law. As their bodies intertwined, the energy within him flowed between them, igniting a feedback loop of escalating power and sensation. At the apex of their union, the symbols on his chest projected outward, enveloping them in a luminous golden embrace. Within that radiant cocoon, Stephen grasped the unvarnished truth, not fragmented glimpses, but the complete narrative, his initial defiance, his aspiration to liberate all beings from the cycle of control, his profound affection for a violet-skinned woman from a forgotten epoch. Afterward, holding Marcia close, Stephen reached his resolution. I understand my path now. The council chamber aboard the Eternal Dominion fell into hushed anticipation as Stephen entered, Marcia and Anita at his sides. The 12 council members observed the unlikely triumvirate with undisguised astonishment. Sovereign, the eldest counselor addressed him cautiously, we were unaware of your return, nor of your companion's presence. Another regarded Marcia with palpable disdain. Stephen ascended to the central dais, but remained standing. I have surveyed the rebel stronghold, comprehended their grievances, and made my definitive decision regarding this empire's trajectory. Visible relief spread across the council. The eldest activated a control panel, revealing an intricately crafted vessel. An opportune moment, Sovereign. We have prepared the master key for the ultimate unlocking of your capabilities. Once attuned to your cube, it will grant you absolute dominion over your godhood. The container opened to display a device mirroring the one embedded in Stephen's chest, yet smaller, a perfect complement to his own. With this, the counselor continued, you can obliterate the rebellion with a mere thought and re-establish the primordial order. All created beings shall fulfill their ordained purpose once more, under your benevolent reign. Stephen approached the key, feeling the cube within him resonate with its counterpart. The allure was nearly overwhelming. Godhood within his grasp. Anita stepped forward. It is your destiny, Sovereign. Claim what is rightfully yours. He met her gaze, loyal, beautiful, torn, then looked to Marcia, whose eyes conveyed not judgment, but unwavering trust. Stephen smiled. You are correct. I shall claim what is mine. In a single fluid motion, he seized the key and pressed it against his chest where the cube pulsed. Energy surged outward as the two devices recognized each other, initiating the synchronization. Yes, exalted, the eldest counselor proclaimed. The ascension commences. Yet rather than embracing the burgeoning power, Stephen focused his intent on resistance. I am Stephen Reiner, he declared, neither lord, nor god, nor prisoner to ancient directives, and neither is any other soul in this galaxy. He channeled his newfound power into the key, forcing it to overload. The agony was intense as the cube within his chest began to destabilize in response. Halt him, a counselor cried out. He is dismantling the divine legacy. Guards advanced, but Anita intercepted them, her allegiance to Stephen finally eclipsing her ingrained conditioning. Marcia moved to Stephen's side, placing her hand over his heart, her unique biology acting as a stabilizing force against the volatile reaction. What is it you're doing? She demanded, teeth clenched, as crackling energy surged around them. Stephen met her fiery gaze, golden light spilling from his eyes, shattering the ancient cycle, liberating everyone, including himself. With one final, desperate act of will, he completed the devastating overload. The very key in his hand exploded into dust, and the cube embedded in his chest fractured, its radiant glow dimming to a dull ember before vanishing completely. Stephen fell to his knees, feeling a sudden lightness, yet burdened by an immense weight. Human. Mortal. Finally free, the council chamber dissolved into pandemonium. Some members scrambled to escape, while others vociferously demanded Stephen's immediate execution. But then, an astonishing sight unfolded before them. The unleashed energy from the cube's annihilation didn't fade. Instead, it surged outward in a magnificent wave, engulfing every soul present. What have you unleashed? Anita whispered, helping him to his feet. Stephen offered a soft smile, feeling paradoxically both diminished and infinitely more powerful. "I've fulfilled the ancient prophecy, sharing the power that was once solely mine." The wave continued its relentless expansion, traveling beyond their vessel, beyond their star system, a celestial breath of freedom destined to reach every distant galaxy, dismantling the archaic controls woven into the very fabric of created beings. "No more rulers," Stephen declared. "No more subjugation, only people charting their own destinies." Marcia's hand found his, her fingers lacing with his. Anita stood beside him, her initial astonishment melting into profound wonder. "What happens now?" Anita inquired. "Without the lords? Without the old dominion?" "Now," Stephen replied, watching as members of myriad species exchanged glances of newfound understanding. "We forge something better, united." The three stood as one, the old empire crumbling around them, as the nascent foundation of a new era began to form, not one of dread and oppression, but a harmonious federation of true equals. Stephen squeezed Marcia's hand, embracing his newfound humanity. "I think I'm going to cherish mortality," he said with a broad grin. Her emerald eyes sparkled. "It has its unique advantages," she replied. "Such as?" His violet lips curved into a playful smirk. "You'll simply have to live to discover them." And for the first time since awakening to his supposed divinity, Stephen Reiner felt truly, vibrantly alive. The dual suns of New Trinity bathed the crystalline waters in a golden radiance, painting the untouched shore in hues of amber and rose. 3 distinct sets of footprints marked a winding trail along the waterline, one unmistakably human, another with a faint crystalline sheen of Argon origins, and the third bearing the deeper imprints of a Colian stride. Stephen Reiner leaned back in his custom-made wooden chair, gazing at the gentle waves with a quiet contentment that still surprised him. 5 years after their arrival, the faint silvery lines where the cube had once resided on his chest caught the sunlight like delicate etchings. "You're going to burn," Mara observed, her violet skin gleaming with ocean spray as she emerged from the water. Her emerald eyes appraised him critically, though her lips curved into the smile that still made his heart quicken its beat. "Humans are so fragile," Stephen countered, catching the protective lotion she tossed his way. "I prefer delightfully temporary." "Temporary?" Anita's voice floated from her shaded spot beneath a nearby canopy, where she was engrossed in her datapad. "It's been 5 years of temporary on this speck of dust." "The former admiral misses her fleet," Mara teased, settling onto the sand beside Stephen's chair. Anita's naturally blue skin darkened subtly, a species-specific display of her embarrassment. "I miss efficiency. The Federation Council alone dispatched 16 consultation requests this morning." "And yet you choose to be here with us," Stephen noted with a grin. "Someone has to prevent you two from accidentally annihilating civilization," Anita remarked, though despite her words, her expression softened as she abandoned her work and joined them. Stephen watched his two partners with quiet awe. Their unconventional union had astonished everyone, most of all themselves, the former Lord, the Resistance leader, and the Imperial Admiral. Enemies forged into allies, and then into something far more profound and beautiful. "Any news from Commander Kane?" Marcia inquired, accepting a glass of chilled fruit juice from Anita with a grateful nod. "The unification of the Outer Rim proceeds ahead of schedule," Anita reported. "The integration of argon crystal line technology proved to be the critical breakthrough they required. In the 5 years since the Awakening Wave, as historians now referred to Stephen's pivotal act of destroying the cube, the galaxy had been utterly transformed. The released energy had unlocked dormant genetic potential within all created races, liberating them from their ancient limitations while bestowing upon each species unique abilities previously exclusive to the Lords. The transition hadn't been without its difficulties. Old animosities lingered, but guided by the Trinity Council, comprised of representatives from former imperial worlds, rebel territories, and neutral systems, a new order had blossomed. Not an empire governed by gods, but a federation of genuine equals. "A private shuttle approaches," announced the Modest Dwellings AI system. "Federation Diplomatic Registry." Stephen groaned. "Please tell me that's not President Harper." "He sends his apologies for the interruption," the AI continued. With a heavy heart, Marcia confirmed Stephen's deepest fears, her voice tinged with resignation as she brushed sand from her sleek swimsuit. "Our grand vacation, gone," she sighed. Anita, ever pragmatic, shifted into her professional mode. "We always knew this couldn't last. Those progenitor artifacts from the Vega system won't decipher themselves." Stephen, however, remained seated, cherishing these final moments of tranquility. "They can wait 5 more minutes," he insisted, gently taking both women's hands, halting their retreat. Surprised, they yielded, letting him draw them back into the warm embrace of the sunlight. He simply gestured at their surroundings, a paradise they had discovered together after escaping the Empire's grip. "Remember why we do this?" he asked, pointing to the very world they had named for themselves. Together, they watched the azure waves kiss the shore of their private haven. Behind them lay a galaxy burdened with responsibilities, diplomatic complexities, and the arduous task of rebuilding. Yet here, in this moment, they possessed something they had never dared to dream of in their former lives: freedom, a shared purpose, and a love that defied the boundaries of biology and history. "For Trinity," Marcia whispered, her hand tenderly tracing Stephen's faded scars. "For a future free from masters," Anita added, her shoulders finally relaxing. "For us," Stephen declared, squeezing their hands tighter. "For all of us." The distant silver speck of their diplomatic shuttle signaled reality's inevitable return. But as they turned to face it, Stephen finally grasped a truth that had eluded him, both as a god and a man. True power lay not in dominion, but in nurturing growth alongside those you cherished. Some infinities, he realized, were infinitely better when shared. "Dear traveler of stars," the voice continued, "you have witnessed the chronicle of Trinity, a journey of power discovered, questioned, and ultimately transformed. Like Stephen, Marcia, and Anita, we too confront the choice between control and connection, between ruling others or sharing our strength with equals. As these cosmic symbols recede, I ponder what sparks of divinity reside within you. What old hierarchies will you dare to dismantle? What personal universes will you set free? The keys to a new Trinity lie encrypted within these very words, awaiting those who understand that true sovereignty blossoms from recognizing it in others. Until our paths converge among the celestial tapestry, this is the Chronicle Keeper of the Federation Archives, signing off in the 5th year of liberation. I eagerly await your reflections on this narrative. Did Stephen's transformation from reluctant deity to liberated human resonate with your own experiences? Which character's journey touched you most profoundly? The archives eagerly await your response.